There exists a sacred space within you that Morrnah Simeona discovered decades ago, a place so pure and untouched that she called it State Zero. It's not emptiness as you might imagine, but rather the fullness of divine love before any memory, any pain, any limitation ever touched your soul. In this moment, as you allow these words to settle into your heart, you're being invited into that same sacred space that transformed not only Morrnah's life, but thousands of souls who learned to access this divine state of being. State Zero is your original blueprint, the way you existed before the world convinced you that you were broken, before relationships taught you to guard your heart, before disappointments whispered lies about your worthiness. It's the place where miracles aren't extraordinary events, but natural expressions of your true divine nature. Morrnah understood something profound that most spiritual traditions had forgotten. Healing doesn't require adding anything to yourself, but rather returning to the pristine state of wholeness that was never actually damaged, only covered by layers of stored memories and inherited pain. When you touch State Zero, even for a moment, everything in your reality begins to shift. Problems that seemed insurmountable start dissolving without your conscious effort. Relationships that felt stuck suddenly flow with unexpected grace. Opportunities appear as if the universe itself is conspiring to support your highest good. This isn't wishful thinking or spiritual fantasy, but the natural consequence of aligning with your original divine programming, the state of perfect love that exists beneath every hurt, every fear, every limitation you've carried. The ancient Hawaiian wisdom that Morrnah received taught her that we are each responsible for everything that appears in our experience, not because we consciously created these challenges, but because we carry within our subconscious the memories that attract these situations as opportunities for healing. Every person who triggers you, every circumstance that disturbs your peace, every obstacle that blocks your path is actually a gift, a memory rising to the surface, asking to be cleansed and returned to the divine. From State Zero, you can see these challenges not as punishments or random events, but as loving invitations to release what no longer serves your soul's evolution. This sacred state isn't something you achieve through years of meditation or spiritual practice, though these can certainly support your journey. State Zero is accessed through the simple, profound act of taking complete responsibility for your inner state and offering everything to the divine for cleansing. It's available to you right now, in this very moment, regardless of your past, your mistakes, your current circumstances, or how far you feel from spiritual perfection. The divine within you is waiting patiently for you to remember who you truly are beneath all the stories, all the pain, all the accumulated experiences that have convinced you that you are anything less than a perfect expression of infinite love. The pathway to State Zero begins with a profound act of surrender that Morrnah discovered could happen in an instant. It's not the surrender of defeat or giving up, but the surrender of someone who finally understands that the divine intelligence operating through them is infinitely wiser than their conscious mind could ever be. In this surrender, you're not losing anything real, but releasing the false identity that has been the source of all your suffering. Every memory stored in your subconscious, every inherited pattern from your ancestors, every cultural conditioning that limits your perception of what's possible, can be cleansed through the sacred process that Morrnah revealed. When you take responsibility for the contents of your consciousness and offer them to the divine for transmutation, you're not admitting fault or accepting blame, but recognizing your power to participate in the healing of not just yourself, but the entire fabric of creation that connects us all. The 4 sacred phrases that emerge from this ancient wisdom carry within them the complete technology for returning to State Zero. I'm sorry acknowledges that something within your consciousness has contributed to the experience of separation from love. Please forgive me is your request to the divine to cleanse these memories from your system. I love you recognizes the divine presence in everything, even what appears as problems or challenges. Thank you expresses gratitude for the opportunity to return to your original state of wholeness. These aren't mere words, but vibrational keys that unlock the door to your true spiritual nature. What makes this process revolutionary is its simplicity. You don't need to understand how it works, analyze which memories need clearing, or figure out the spiritual mechanics involved. The divine intelligence within you already knows exactly what needs to be cleansed and in what order. Your only job is to create the space for this healing to occur, by repeatedly returning to these sacred phrases whenever anything disturbs your inner peace. Like a gentle mother soothing a crying child, these words calm the part of you that believes in separation and gradually return you to the knowing of your essential unity with all life. State zero isn't a destination you reach and then maintain forever, but a place you return to again and again, as life presents you with new opportunities for healing. Each time you practice this sacred cleansing, you're not just healing your own consciousness, but contributing to the healing of the collective human experience. Every memory you clear, every pattern you release, every moment you choose love over fear, creates ripples of transformation that extend far beyond what your individual mind can perceive. You become a walking blessing, a living prayer, a channel through which divine love flows more freely into a world that desperately needs this healing energy. If you feel something stirring in your heart as you read these words, if you sense a recognition of truth that transcends mere intellectual understanding, I want you to know that this isn't an accident. Your soul has been calling you to remember this ancient wisdom, and somehow, mysteriously, you've found your way here in this moment. Take a breath and feel how much love surrounds you right now. Feel how you're being held by a universe that wants nothing more than your complete happiness and freedom. If this resonates with you, if you feel ready to begin this sacred journey of returning to who you truly are, share in the comments below what brought you here today. What is your heart longing to heal? What would your life look like if you truly knew yourself as the divine being you've always been? Your story matters, your healing matters, and by sharing your truth, you create space for others to step into their own journey of remembering. You are so deeply loved, and this community is here to support you every step of the way. The sacred phrase, "I'm sorry," contains within it a recognition that might surprise you. You're not apologizing for being bad or wrong, but acknowledging that somewhere in the vast storage system of your consciousness, memories exist that have created the experience of separation from love. These memories might not even be yours in the conventional sense. They could be inherited from your ancestors, absorbed from your culture, or picked up from the collective unconscious that connects all human experience. When you say "I'm sorry," you're accepting responsibility not as self-blame but as empowerment, recognizing that if these memories exist within your consciousness, you also have the power to release them. "Please forgive me" is your humble request to the divine intelligence that operates through all things to cleanse these memories from your system. It's important to understand that you're not asking forgiveness from an external deity who sits in judgment of you, but from the perfect love that is your true nature, the divine aspect of yourself that has never been touched by any limitation or imperfection. This forgiveness is always available, always flowing, always ready to wash away anything that obscures your natural state of grace. The divine doesn't need to be convinced to forgive you. It's simply waiting for you to accept the forgiveness that has always been yours. "I love you" might be the most powerful phrase of all, because it recognizes the divine presence in whatever appears to be causing you distress. This doesn't mean you have to like painful situations or harmful behaviors, but that you can see through the surface appearance to the divine essence that exists within all things. When you say "I love you" to a difficult person, a challenging circumstance, or even to the painful memories arising within your consciousness, you're not condoning anything harmful, but choosing to see with the eyes of your soul rather than the perception of your wounded ego. This act of love doesn't change what happened, but it transforms your relationship to what happened, freeing you from the prison of resentment and victimhood. "Thank you" completes the sacred circuit by expressing gratitude for the opportunity to heal, to grow, to remember who you truly are. Gratitude is the natural response of a heart that recognizes every experience, even the painful ones, as gifts designed to support your spiritual evolution. When you can genuinely feel thankful for your challenges, you've reached a level of spiritual maturity that allows you to use everything that happens as fuel for your awakening. This gratitude isn't forced positivity or denial of real pain, but a deep understanding that every experience serves your ultimate good, even when your human mind cannot comprehend how. Together, these four phrases create a complete technology for transformation that works, whether you understand it or not, whether you feel it working or not, whether you see immediate results or not. Like taking medicine for an illness, the healing effect happens at levels deeper than your conscious awareness can track. Each time you practice these sacred words, You're participating in an ancient ritual of purification that has been blessing and healing souls for generations. You're joining a lineage of healers who understood that true power lies not in forcing change in the external world, but in maintaining such clarity and love in their inner world that the external naturally reflects this higher state of consciousness. The practice itself becomes a prayer, and your life becomes a living demonstration of the miracle that occurs when human consciousness aligns with divine love. Morrnah Simeona discovered that State Zero isn't just a personal experience, but a doorway into collective healing that ripples outward in ways the human mind can barely comprehend. When you clear a memory from your consciousness, you're not just healing your own experience, but participating in the healing of every person who shares that particular pattern of pain. This is possible because at the deepest level of reality, we are not separate individuals, but expressions of one unified consciousness experiencing itself through countless perspectives. The practice of Ho'oponopono that Morrnah received and refined represents a return to the original understanding of healing that existed in indigenous cultures around the world. These ancient peoples knew that individual wellness and collective harmony were inseparable, that healing one person's relationship with life force automatically enhanced the well-being of the entire community. In our modern world, we've forgotten this interconnectedness, trying to heal ourselves in isolation while remaining unconsciously entangled in the pain patterns of our families, our cultures, and our species. When you practice State Zero consistently, you begin to notice that people around you start changing without any conscious effort on your part. Family members become more peaceful in your presence. Conflicts resolve themselves with surprising ease. Opportunities for joy and abundance appear more frequently in your life. This isn't because you're manipulating external circumstances, but because your inner state of clarity and love is so magnetic that it naturally attracts experiences that match this higher frequency. You become like a tuning fork vibrating at the frequency of wholeness, and everything in your environment begins to resonate with this same harmonious tone. The memories that arise for cleansing aren't random. The divine intelligence operating through your subconscious knows exactly which memories need to be addressed and in what sequence to create the greatest healing with the least disruption to your system. Sometimes you might find yourself thinking of an old relationship that ended badly, or remembering a childhood experience that left you feeling powerless. Rather than seeing these memories as intrusions or signs that something is wrong, you can recognize them as gifts, opportunities to apply the sacred phrases and free yourself from patterns that have been limiting your experience for years or even decades. The beautiful paradox of this practice is that as you release your need to control outcomes, you discover a level of creative power you never knew you possessed. From State Zero, your actions arise not from desperation or manipulation, but from inspired guidance that knows exactly what steps will serve your highest good and the good of all concerned. You might find yourself saying just the right words to comfort someone in pain, being in the right place at the right time for unexpected opportunities, or making decisions that seem risky to your logical mind, but turn out to be perfectly aligned with your soul's purpose. This is the natural result of living from your divine center rather than from the fearful programming of your conditioned mind. State Zero isn't a place you go to escape the challenges of human life, but a perspective from which you can engage with these challenges as a conscious co-creator, rather than a victim of circumstances. Every situation becomes an opportunity to practice choosing love over fear, understanding over judgment, peace over drama. Even when external circumstances don't change immediately, your inner experience transforms so completely that you feel as if you're living in an entirely different world, one where miracles are normal and love is the underlying truth beneath every appearance of separation or conflict. The original prayer that Morrnah Simeona received from the divine carries within it a complete blueprint for spiritual liberation that works regardless of your religious background, cultural conditioning, or previous spiritual experience. This prayer doesn't require you to abandon your existing beliefs, but rather to return to the universal truth that underlies all authentic spiritual traditions, the recognition that we are divine beings temporarily forgetting our true nature while having a human experience. Divine Creator, Father, Mother, Son as one. If I, my family, my relatives, and my ancestors have offended you, your family, your relatives, and your ancestors in thought, word, deed, and action from the beginning of our creation to the present, we ask your forgiveness. Let this cleanse, purify, release, cut all the negative memories, blocks, energies, and vibrations, and transmute these unwanted energies to pure light. And it is done. This prayer acknowledges the vast web of interconnection that extends not only through space but through time, recognizing that we carry within our consciousness the unhealed patterns of our entire lineage. When you speak these words with sincere intention, you're offering to the divine not just your personal pain, but the accumulated suffering of all those who came before you and all those who will come after you. This act of healing extends backward through generations of ancestors and forward through generations yet to be born, creating a ripple of transformation that heals not just one lifetime, but entire family trees. The power of this prayer lies not in the specific words, but in the consciousness with which it's offered. When you approach the divine with genuine humility, taking full responsibility for everything that appears in your experience, while simultaneously acknowledging your complete dependence on divine grace for healing, you create the perfect conditions for miracles to occur. You're not demanding that the universe change to meet your preferences, but asking to be aligned with the divine will that always seeks the highest good for all concerned. Many people struggle with the idea of taking responsibility for experiences they didn't consciously create, particularly traumatic events or harmful actions by others. But this responsibility isn't about self-blame or accepting abuse. It's about recognizing that on a soul level, you attracted these experiences as opportunities to heal ancient patterns and evolve spiritually. From this perspective, even the most painful experiences become sacred assignments, chances to demonstrate the power of love to transform suffering into wisdom, healing, and ultimately, service to others who are facing similar challenges. I want to pause here and speak directly to your heart. If you've stayed with these words this long, if you feel something inside you responding to this ancient wisdom, I want you to know how courageous you are. It takes incredible bravery to consider that you might have the power to heal not just your own pain, but to contribute to healing the pain of the world. Your willingness to explore this possibility, to open your heart to a different way of seeing, is already creating changes in your life that you may not even notice yet. In the comments, I'd love for you to share what's happening inside you right now. Are you feeling resistance, hope, fear, excitement? All of these responses are perfect and normal. If you have specific situations you'd like to practice Ho'oponopono with, or if there are family patterns you sense are ready to be healed, share those too. Sometimes when we name what we're ready to heal, it's the first step in the healing itself. You don't have to do this alone. This community is here to support you, and the divine within you is always available to guide and heal. What would you like to release? What would you like to heal? Let us witness your courage and hold space for your transformation. Living from state zero doesn't mean you become passive or detached from life, but rather that you engage with life from a place of such inner security and trust that you're free to respond to each moment with genuine wisdom, rather than reactive patterns based on past hurts. This state of consciousness allows you to be fully present with whatever is happening without needing it to be different in order for you to feel okay. You can be with someone who's angry without absorbing their anger, support someone in pain without taking on their pain, and witness injustice without becoming consumed by righteous indignation that clouds your ability to respond effectively. From this centered place, your actions become prayers in motion. When you help someone, it's not from a sense of obligation or need to be seen as good, but from the natural overflow of love that occurs when you're connected to your divine source. When you speak, your words carry a healing vibration that can calm conflict and inspire hope, even when you're not consciously trying to be therapeutic. When you're simply going about your daily activities, working, shopping, driving, cooking, your peaceful presence contributes to the healing of every environment you enter. The practice of Ho'oponopono gradually reveals that the boundaries between self and other, personal and universal, individual healing and collective transformation, are much more fluid than our rational mind typically perceives. As you consistently clear memories from your consciousness, you begin to experience yourself not as a separate entity trying to get your needs met in a hostile world, but as a unique expression of the same divine love that animates all life. This shift in identity naturally leads to actions that serve not just your apparent personal interests, but the well-being of the whole. One of the most profound aspects of this practice is how it transforms your relationship with difficult people and challenging circumstances. Instead of seeing these as obstacles to your happiness or evidence that life is unfair, you begin to recognize them as perfectly designed opportunities to practice choosing love in situations where fear would be the normal response. Every person who triggers your judgment becomes a teacher offering you the chance to extend compassion. Every circumstance that disturbs your peace becomes an invitation to remember that your true security comes from your connection to the divine, not from external conditions being arranged to your liking. This doesn't mean you become a doormat or stop setting healthy boundaries. Rather, you're able to take appropriate action from a place of love rather than fear, firmness rather than aggression, clarity rather than confusion. You might still say no to requests that don't align with your highest good, but you do so without anger or resentment. You might still remove yourself from toxic environments, but you do so with compassion rather than hatred for those who remain caught in destructive patterns. The ultimate paradox of Ho'oponopono is that by taking complete responsibility for everything in your experience, you discover true freedom. By admitting that you don't know how to fix anything and offering it all to the divine for healing, you access a level of wisdom and power that your limited human mind could never generate. By loving what you would normally judge and being grateful for what you would normally resist, you align with the same force that moves the planets, grows the flowers, and beats your heart without any conscious effort on your part. This is the miracle of state zero. Not that external conditions always improve, but that your relationship with life becomes so harmonious that even challenges feel like blessings in disguise. The deepest teaching of Ho'oponopono is that healing happens not through adding something new to your experience, but through removing what was never truly yours to begin with. Every limiting belief, every painful memory, every pattern of suffering exists only as a temporary covering over your essential nature, which is already perfect, already whole, already free. Like dust on a mirror, these accumulated experiences can make it seem as if your true face is obscured, but the mirror itself remains unchanged beneath whatever appears to cover it. This understanding brings profound relief to those who have spent years trying to improve themselves, fix their problems, or become more spiritual. From the perspective of Ho'oponopono, there is nothing wrong with you that needs to be fixed, only mistaken identities that need to be released and true identity that needs to be remembered. You are not a broken person who needs healing, but a divine being who has temporarily forgotten your true nature while accumulating experiences that seem to contradict your inherent wholeness. The practice becomes an ongoing conversation with the divine intelligence that operates through your subconscious mind. Throughout your day, whenever anything disturbs your inner peace, you can silently offer it up. I'm sorry for whatever memories in me have created this experience. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you for this opportunity to return to clarity. This inner dialogue gradually replaces the mental commentary of judgment, worry, and planning that typically runs through your mind, creating space for inspiration, wisdom, and guidance to emerge from your deeper knowing. What makes this practice so effective is its complete simplicity. You don't need to analyze why certain people trigger you, figure out what childhood experiences created your current patterns, or understand the spiritual mechanics of how clearing memories creates external changes. The divine intelligence that created your body, grows your hair, and orchestrates the complex chemistry that keeps you alive is perfectly capable of identifying and healing whatever needs attention in your consciousness without any input from your rational mind. This surrender of the need to understand or control the healing process often brings up resistance in people who are accustomed to taking charge of their lives and solving problems through analysis and effort. But Ho'oponopono asks you to consider that the same intelligence that maintains the intricate balance of ecosystems and guides the migration of birds might be infinitely more qualified than your personal mind to orchestrate the healing of patterns that were established long before your current personality even existed. As you practice consistently, you begin to notice subtle changes in how you experience life. Situations that used to trigger hours of mental drama might still be momentarily challenging, but your recovery time becomes much shorter. People who used to push your buttons might still behave in the same ways, but their behavior no longer has the power to disrupt your inner peace for extended periods. Opportunities for joy, creativity, and meaningful connection begin appearing more frequently, not because you're trying to manifest them, but because the cleared space in your consciousness naturally attracts experiences that match your increasingly peaceful vibration. The practice doesn't promise that you'll never experience human emotions like sadness, anger, or fear, but that you'll have a reliable method for returning to your natural state of love and peace when these temporary weather patterns pass through your emotional landscape. Like someone who has learned to swim, you're no longer afraid of being overwhelmed by the waves of experience because you know how to navigate whatever comes with grace and skill. Perhaps the most miraculous aspect of practicing Ho'oponopono consistently is how it begins to transform your understanding of time itself. As memories are cleared from your consciousness, you start to experience the present moment with fresh eyes, as if you're seeing people and situations without the filter of past experiences that normally color your perception. A conversation with your spouse becomes a genuine encounter with another soul rather than a replay of old arguments and assumptions. A work project becomes an opportunity for creativity rather than a reminder of previous disappointments or fears about future outcomes. This clearing of perceptual filters allows you to access what Morrnah called divine timing, a natural rhythm of action and rest that flows from your authentic center, rather than from the anxious pushing of the ego mind. When you're operating from state zero, you find yourself naturally knowing when to speak and when to listen, when to act and when to wait, when to engage and when to step back. This isn't a mental calculation, but an embodied wisdom that emerges when your consciousness is clear enough to receive guidance from the divine intelligence that orchestrates all life. The practice also transforms your relationship with what we typically call mistakes or failures. From the perspective of Ho'oponopono, every experience that doesn't unfold as expected is simply information about what memories are ready to be cleared. A business venture that doesn't succeed, a relationship that ends painfully, a health challenge that disrupts your plans, all become opportunities to practice the sacred phrases and discover what attachments or expectations are ready to be released. This doesn't mean you become passive or stop making plans, but that you hold your plans lightly, ready to adjust course when divine guidance points in a different direction. One of the most profound gifts of sustained practice is the development of what might be called spiritual immunity. Just as physical immunity protects your body from diseases that might overwhelm someone with a compromised immune system, spiritual immunity prevents you from absorbing the negative emotional states of people around you or being knocked off center by circumstances that might have previously sent you into days or weeks of psychological distress. You remain compassionate and caring, but you're no longer emotionally hijacked by every drama or crisis in your environment. This spiritual immunity extends to your relationship with media, social situations, and even your own internal mental chatter. The constant stream of information about problems, threats, and conflicts that fills our modern information environment loses its power to create anxiety or despair because you've developed the capacity to witness these phenomena without identifying with them as your personal reality. You can stay informed and engaged without being overwhelmed because your inner reference point has shifted from fear-based reactivity to love-based response. The paradox of this immunity is that as you become less affected by the drama around you, you also become more genuinely helpful to others who are caught in that drama. Your peaceful presence becomes a reminder that there's another way to experience life, and your consistent practice of the sacred phrases contributes to the healing of whatever chaotic energies you encounter. You become like a lighthouse in a storm, offering a steady beacon of hope and stability without being damaged by the turbulent conditions around you. As the practice matures, you begin to recognize that every person, every situation, every challenge in your life is actually a mirror reflecting back some aspect of your consciousness that's ready for healing. This recognition transforms even the most difficult relationships into sacred partnerships for mutual healing, where apparent conflict becomes collaboration in the service of releasing whatever patterns of separation still exist between you and your full experience of divine love. The ultimate revelation of Ho'oponopono is that state zero isn't a destination you reach after years of spiritual practice, but your natural condition that's available in every moment when you stop adding mental commentary to your direct experience of life. Every breath you take, Every heartbeat, every moment of simple awareness when you're not caught up in stories about the past or worries about the future is already state zero. The practice doesn't create this state, but removes the obstacles to recognizing what has always been true. This understanding brings tremendous compassion for your human journey and the journeys of all beings who are struggling to remember their divine nature while navigating the complexities of embodied existence. You realize that everyone is doing their best from their current level of clarity and consciousness, even when their actions seem harmful or unconscious. This doesn't mean you excuse harmful behavior or fail to set appropriate boundaries, but you can respond to challenging people from a place of understanding rather than judgment, knowing that their difficult behavior arises from their own forgotten divinity rather than from any essential badness or evil. As you consistently practice offering memories for divine cleansing, your capacity for presence and love naturally expands. You find yourself able to be with people in pain without trying to fix them or make them feel better, offering instead the gift of your peaceful presence and deep listening. You can witness injustice without becoming consumed by anger, responding instead from a place of centered clarity that knows how to take appropriate action without adding more violence to an already violent situation. You become a healing presence in the world, not through your words or actions alone, but through the quality of consciousness you bring to every encounter. The practice gradually reveals that the same divine intelligence that appears as your individual consciousness is also appearing as every other person's consciousness. Every animal, every plant, every star, every grain of sand. This recognition naturally leads to a way of living that honors the sacred in all things, not as a spiritual concept, but as a lived reality that influences every choice, every word, every gesture. You begin to move through the world as if you're walking through a temple because you understand that you are. Perhaps most importantly, practicing Ho'oponopono teaches you to trust the process of life itself. You develop faith not in your ability to control outcomes, but in the wisdom of the divine intelligence that's orchestrating your experience for your highest good, even when that good isn't immediately apparent. This trust allows you to engage fully with life, while holding lightly to specific results, knowing that whatever happens is exactly what's needed for your continued awakening and evolution. The sacred phrases become not just words you say, but the actual vibration of your consciousness. I'm sorry becomes a constant attitude of humility and taking responsibility. Please forgive me becomes an ongoing request for cleansing and purification. I love you becomes your natural response to everything and everyone. Thank you becomes the background music of your existence, recognizing every experience as a gift from the divine for your awakening. In closing, remember that you don't have to understand how Ho'oponopono works or believe in its power for it to transform your life. Like gravity or electricity, its effectiveness doesn't depend on your comprehension or faith. Your only requirement is willingness to practice, to offer whatever arises in your experience to the divine for cleansing, and to trust that this simple act of surrender can heal not only your individual consciousness, but contribute to the healing of our entire human family. Take these sacred phrases with you into your daily life. Practice them silently as you go about your activities. Offer them whenever anything disturbs your peace. Share them with others who are ready to remember their divine nature, and know that with each sincere offering of these words, you're participating in the greatest work possible, the transformation of human consciousness from fear to love, from separation to unity, from suffering to the recognition of our already perfect wholeness. This is the gift that Morrnah Simeona received and shared, and now it lives through you, blessing everyone whose life you touch with the healing power of divine love.